Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Dr. Huma Shafiq is here again with some more advanced and innovative ideas in the field of biotechnology and healthcare. Um, as Mike Tyson famously said, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. Although he was a great boxer or heavyweight champion, this famous quote, it stretches far beyond boxing. It really has meaning in any areas of life, whether the blow comes from a health issue, losing your job, making a bad investment, a traffic jam, whatever. It's how you react to that adversity. It's how you react to that misfortune. So if you are good and your plan is working, somewhere during the duration of that outcome of that event you're involved in, you're going to get the wrath. You know, you're going to get you get into the unpleasant situation. So what? The bad end of the stick. So let's see how you deal with it. Let's see how you get matured enough to deal with it. And I think no seldom nobody deals with that. So today we'll talk about the advancements as an entrepreneur. I'm working in biosensor applications. As I told you previously in my lecture, that we are working on obesity stat, which is a obesity biosensor, and it soon will get operational later in coming years. And we are also working in, we are also designing another biosensor related to the nanotechnology. So I want you to share those advancements in the biosensor technology, that if you are interested in biotechnology advancements, you should be aware of some of the biotechnology innovations. And if you want to do something in biosensor and in nanotechnology applications, what aims and objectives you should follow on. So I want to share some of the biotech innovations that with an estimated global market size of approximately 500 billion euros by 2020, biotech has evolved to be an exciting field for innovations, which will fundamentally change our understanding of the healthcare. And if we go through and if we look on some of the benefits of the biotechnology in the healthcare fields or in another fields, it can improve, or it is improving the health and reducing the hunger simultaneously. Basic all the innovative ideas, whether it is biotechnology field or in any technology field, they are improving the lifestyle of the human. They are working on the human welfare. They are creating the flexibility. They are offering the medical investment opportunities. They are allowing to preserve the resources. They're helping us to minimizes or eliminating such waste from the society. So these technological innovations, they are helping the society to live or to endorse better lifestyle. So all what in short, all technology innovations they are doing for the society is. So, okay, let's talk about such biotech innovations that have you are looking in this slide, such as biosensors, mixed reality, tissue engineering, big data, nanomedicine, synthetic biology, metabolic engineering, AI, 3D printing, and gene editing. Let's talk about one by one a little bit. If we talk about the 3D bioprinting, it uses so-called bioink, bioink material to create the tissue-like structures layer by layer. And with appropriate bioink material, pills and drugs, they can be printed on demand with much lower cost involved. Bioprinted tissues, they also have a wide range of usage in research and regenerative medicine, such as printing living cells, creating functional tissues to repair or replace the organs. And tissue engineering, it combines the bioengineering and biochemical methods to improve or replace or create the biological tissue, that is the bones and the blood vessels, skin, muscles, etc. Yes, gene editing technology, it has been greatly enhanced by the early 2000s discovery and further development of using the CRISPR-Cas9 for precise insertion, modification, and deletion of DNA sequencing in the genome. Synthetic biology and metabolic engineering, it combines advanced disciplines of biology and engineering to design and construct the biological modules. One of my postdoc project was related to the steroid biotechnology, where we are working on the microbial strains to design such mechanisms in the steroid metabolism, and in order to also reduce the pathways of those elongated steroid metabolism. So this synthetic biology, it is used to create this such advanced innovative ideas. Synthetic biology recently is using to create the synthetic meats to reduce animal suffering and greenhouse gas production. It can also increase the production of chemicals, fuels, and materials from the renewable biomass. What is mixed reality? What are these technologies are for? They are basically used to project a detailed interactive 3D simulations of human organs in a virtual environment. If you are saying as virtual reality, or in a real world, that is augmented reality. So mixed reality, it simulates the treatment or surgery that helps improve the effectiveness of training for surgeons and medical students. Nanomedicine, it is combined as combining with 3D bioprinting and tissue engineering. Nanotechnologies have a wide spectrum of application in medicine. For example, a biochemical nanorobot recently being used in COVID-19 cases in different hospitals internationally. And these nanorobots, what they worked as a nurses, they worked as healthcare providers. They can and they are they can deliver the small doses of drugs to precise locations to or organs to minimize side effects and improve the quality of the treatments. Big data technology, it is crucial for making sense and creating insights from the large amount of data generated in areas such as genome and RNA sequencing, medical trials, and public health. Last but not least, the AI, artificial intelligence. The medical field traditionally generates a large amount of data stemming from research, disease, and treatment. And this AI detects the patterns and make the predictions from the clinical trials and other medical data much faster, allowing for a more efficient development of new drugs or treatments. So all these fields of the biotech innovations, they are worth doing in the world. So if you are interested in such fields, I really appreciate you to please go on and try to have new idea, try to collaborate with such engineers, with such scientists, and try to make your work more creative with them. So among these biotech innovations, I chose the biosensor and the nanotechnology, and I'm working on them. Although I'm a biochemist, but I'm working hard to design such biosensors and make it operational. Um, so let's talk about. I want you to have an idea about the basics of the biosensor if you are interested in that. So biosensor is, if we talk about its old definition, it is the self-contained integrated device that is capable of providing specific qualitative or semi-quantitative analytical information using a biological recognition element, which is in indirect spatial contact with a, transduction element. So these biosensors, they are basically the analytical devices that interpret the biological information into a quantifiable signals. You know, these biosensors, they differ from other popular analytical systems, such as those in the experiment. We used to do in the molecular biology labs, such as the PCRs and the high performance liquid chromatographies. So in that, they are self-contained integrated devices. However, biosensors, they can be incorporated into larger analytical systems. That is, they act as a receptor device that can selectively collect the quantitative or semi-quantitative information. This is the latest current definition. That is, it is a sensor that integrates a biological element with a physiochemical transducer to produce an electronic signal proportional to a single analyte, which is then conveyed to a detector. Biosensor, it has two components, that is physical and biological. So as the name indicates, biosensor. Bio means human body, you can say human body or any living body, and sensor is it. So with the name of the sensor, it must be have some physical properties. So as the name indicates, biosensor, so it obviously has the components as physical and biological. Physical components include the transducer and amplifier, and biological components are the bioelements and the analytes. So if we talk about its components, that how they are working, it working together. So they are the five main components. A bioreceptor, um, here in this picture is shown the analyte, recognition element and transducer, but this is the detailed diagram of the working, the operation of the biosensor. That is a bioreceptor, an interface, transducer element, computer software, and a user interface. So these bioreceptors, they bind to the analyte selectively, and the interface is where a chosen biological event occurs that give rise to the signal that is being measured. Now the signal is measured by the transducer element. The computer software converts the electronic signal into a physical parameter that can meaningfully be interpreted. So this is then presented through the user interface to the operator. So this general, uh, just get the general idea of how a biosensor is working. If you are a student of the biotechnology, if you're a student of the biochemistry, you can easily understand that how this biosensor is being worked. So these are the bioelements which we are using in a biosensor, along with the sensor elements. If you're using any organ tissue, polysaccharide, antibodies, microbial species or strain, nucleic acids, and enzymes. Yes, what are depending upon or the type of the biosensor or the uses of the biosensor in different fields, that if you are designing or planning to design a biosensor related to the environment or related to agriculture, then you have to you're using the water and soil as a samples. And if you have designed the biosensor related to the medical field, then obviously human samples is being used as blood and urine. And the biological elements must be the enzymes, the antibodies, and the aptamers. And the transducers using in the biosensors, depending upon the type of the biosensor, that is, say for example, if it is an electrochemical biosensor, then the electrochemical transducer is being used. Same is the case with the optical biosensors, the calorimetric biosensors. Professor Leland C. Clark is considered the father of biosensor. I've listened one of his latest interview in 2004 or 5, I think. So he's such a noble person. He was such a gentleman, and he was so nice, so kind, down to earth. If you just listen to his interviews and just read the professional career, just read the personal life that he spent with his wife, and he worked on such sensors. Uh, so he invented the first device to rapidly determine the amount of glucose in the blood. As in my previous lectures, as I told you, that please start reading the leaders and the Nobel laureates. You've got to know you get the better understanding that how they are spending the lives, how they are going through different steps of the maturity, how they got punched in the faces after getting such plans. So ये चीजें आप लोगों ने खुद सर्च करनी है अपनी thorough study से. Coming back to this, that he discovered a sensor, the first sensor. uh, Today, approximately 18.2 billion people with diabetes, they rely on Clark's original glucose sensor concept for self-monitoring. So it was an implantable biosensor newly patented by Clark. It could make blood glucose monitoring even easier by sending readings whenever needed. Um, If we talk about, let's talk about the nanotechnology. We're not going in detail of the any sensors. I just want you to make awareness or have an idea that how biosensor is working. As I have chosen the as an entrepreneur, that I think that now we have to do something innovative or something new to get have more uh, patent ideas. Nanotechnology, if we talk about the nanotechnology, what is more recent developments in nanotechnology that offer the potential for highly sensitive detection and small unobtrusive sensors that could be implanted in patients or incorporated into clothing. Many research groups, they are exploring the potential of designing the biosensors based on the carbon nanotubes, based on quantum dots and molecularly imprinted in polymers. They are using for a highly detective detection. That's why these nanotechnology along with the biosensor, government is looking for funds to use such applications in the field of the in the field of the crime and insecurity cases as well. So, if we talk about the another person, another important work in the field of the nanotechnology, then Strano professor, we never forget the Michael Strano. Michael Strano is one of the pioneer in the area of chemical engineering and biomedical engineering. He worked in the University of Illinois. What he and his colleagues did, they showed that single-walled carbon nanotubes could be used as nanoscale glucose sensors. By taking advantage of their natural ability to fluoresce at near infrared wavelengths, Strano and his colleague coated what he did is he coated single-walled nanotubes with a layer of the enzyme glucose oxidase, which transform glucose into gluconolactone and generates hydrogen peroxide as a byproduct. Those, the biochemists and the chemical engineers, they easily understand that what I am saying. What a remarkable work he has done. He then added the potassium ferricyanide ions to the single-walled nanotube surface to change the electronic structure of the those single-walled nanotubes. He called usually abbreviated as SWNTs, and reduce their natural fluorescence. This fluorescence is restored whenever the SWNTs are exposed to glucose. And when glucose encounters the enzyme, hydrogen peroxide is produced, which quickly reacts with ferricyanide to modulate the electronic structure and optical characteristics of the nanotubes. That what explains Streno by himself. The more glucose that is present, the brighter the nanotube will fluoresce. Because near infrared light tends to pass through bodily tissues fairly easy, and this fluorescence should be easy to detect. Now, this how the working has been done. Sensors for monitoring glucose levels in people with diabetes, they have driven the phenomenal recent growth of biosensor market and now accounts for over 85% of all the biosensor sales. Current glucose biosensor work in a similar way as the Streno SWNTs. They detect the hydrogen peroxide produced by the oxidation of glucose, although they do this by monitoring the current change generated by the oxidation of hydrogen peroxide at an electrode, that is known as the amperometric detection. Streno and his colleagues, they also adapted these SWNT techniques to detect the environmental contaminants and specific DNA sequences. This involved attaching the DNA strands to the SWNTs and again monitoring changes in their fluorescence, like this. If we talk about the carbon quantum dots, other researchers, they investigated attaching biological particles such as proteins and antibodies to carbon nanotubes and monitoring their electrical conductivity rather than their fluorescence. But the carbon nanotubes aren't the only nanoparticles that are being developed as biosensors. Many researchers are equally excited about the quantum dots. These are semiconductor nanocrystals, often made from silicon. or cadmium compounds that can fluoresce at wavelength that span the physical spectrum depending on their precise size. Larger dots fluoresce at the red end of the spectrum, while smaller dots they fluoresce at the blue end of the spectrum. Biosensor researchers they are using them in a similar manner to carbon nanotubes by linking their fluorescence to an attached biomolecules. Now, several researchers, if you are studying about the researchers, I also, go through some of the great universities, and they are working, day and night. Their researchers are working day and night. Say, for example, the researchers from John Hopkins University's Baltimore, US, they led by biomedical engineer with Hui Wang. They have used such quantum dots to detect specific DNA strands. So whenever I read any research article, I also read their authors, that who is the first author, who is the second author, what they actually contributed in this, in this work. Okay, yes, electrochemical biosensors. Actually, one of my biosensor which we are working on is the electrochemical biosensor, the type which we specifically used. So this biosensor, it is a class of biosensor that function using an electrochemical transducer. They can detect the biological materials such as enzymes, whole cells, specific ligands and tissues, but also the non-biological matrices. The detection method for electrochemical transducers, they are diverse. The methods includes the amperometry, which is based on measuring the electroactive species, electrochemical oxidation or reduction current. The current relates directly to the concentration of the electroactive species. Another method is the conductometry, which relies on the conductometries of the enzyme reactions and the biological membranes. So every thing has which we are using for innovative work has advantages or disadvantages. Although these biosensors they are robust, easy to miniaturize, and offer broad detection limits, even when only small volumes of analytes are present. These electrochemical or other biosensors they can be used to analyze biofluids with high turbidity and optically absorbing and fluorescing the compounds. So these biosensors, they have certain features that hinder further development. For example, they do not have the type of surface architecture that would facilitate the high sensitivity and unique recognition of response to the selected biochemical event. I have studied thoroughly about the advantages and disadvantages, and these how we can catch these advantages and disadvantages from the work of the researcher, from the thorough work, or from the thorough going deep into the learnings of those research works, and the researchers what type of work they have chosen, and you have to learn thorough, and from the understanding of their you know results and discussions and conclusion, we find out some hidden benefits as well, and some hidden controversial controversial things which go into the disadvantages as well. So for example, as I told you that what is the disadvantage, because of this, nanotechnology has had an increased application in electrochemical biosensing by being used to minimize the elements of electrochemical sensors into sizes that increase the signal to noise ratio, and this particularly important for processes that are intended to occur at the device's interfaces, and that can be used to discover methods to use several enzymatic labels to increase the intensity of the event signal, as well. Have you ever talked about, or have you ever learned or read about the nanotechnology, or the nanomaterials, or the nanoparticles? If not that, then please go through that. It's very interesting, and you will get the new ideas, at least the new ideas, that how to uh, if you are following the biotech innovations, then please go through the nanotechnology. Nanotechnology is science. It all studies materials on a nanoscale. And if we talk about the nanoparticle, its size measures from 1 to 100 nanometers in size. And to put this scale in perspective, trying to find a nanoparticle on the surface of a soccer ball, it is just as hard as finding a soccer ball on the surface of the earth. You know how tiny it is. The reason that nanotechnology is so interesting is that materials at the nanoscale have entirely different properties than materials on the macro scale. And the advancements in the nanoscale technology has presented various sensing platforms, and the development of biotechnology, it has found the such bioprobes for disease diagnostics, leading to nanobiosensors, although they show high sensitivity and excellent selectivity for the target molecules. The nanobiosensors, they still need additional instruments for consumers in the field. And to enable the point of care testing with nanobiosensors. You know what is point of care testing? These point of care testings, or the point of medical care, they are related to the medical devices using or integrated in the smartphones. So to enable the point of care testing with nanobiosensors, smart devices consisting of portable memory storage, a light source, electrical boards or battery, and so on, they have been combined with the nanobiosensors. And especially the smartphone based biosensors, they showed extended function with optical, physical, and electrochemical modulators, leading to an all-in-one sensing systems. Okay, I told you about the biosensors. I told you about its working, how it is working in it, how it is working along with the nanotechnology, how people are working and they are getting the new idea. I really appreciate that if you go through all the research articles related to the biosensors and smartphone devices biosensors. So, what are the applications of these biosensors in the medical field, agriculture field, environment field, and food? Now you get the better idea that they can have variety of biomedical, industry, and military applications as well. The major application so far is in blood glucose sensing because of its abundant market potential. Now, these blood glucose biosensors, they are self-monitoring biosensors, not only diabetic, but also those people who are managing their weight. The weight management people, they are also using these glucose sensors to monitor their glucose daily. So these biosensors, they have tremendous potential for commercialization in other fields of applications as well. In spite of this potential, however, commercial adoption has been slow because of the several technological difficulties. For example, due to the presence of biomolecules along with semiconductor materials, biosensor contamination is a major use. So it has a wider applications in the healthcare, that is measurement of metabolites, market potential, diabetes, we all read that, insulin therapy, yes, artificial pancreas, in industrial process control as a bioreactor control, in military applications, in environmental monitoring, air and water monitoring. Now, people working on such fields, they are looking for the biotechnologists, the nanobiotechnologists to design such biosensor applications. Now, these are all the detailed applications, clinical and non-clinical, that how biosensor is being working in both field, in both such opposite fields. So biosensor market size was valued over approximately 18 US dollar billion in 2018 and is expected to witness growth of around 8% CAGR. CAGR is the compound annual growth rate. It is actually the rate of return that would be required for an investment to grow from its beginning balance to its ending balance, assuming the profits were reinvested at the end of each year of the investment lifespan from 2019 to the 2025. So the biosensor market size by type, if you talk about the type, so it's wearable, non-wearable, by technology, electrochemical, optical, thermal, whatever, And by medical application, blood glucose testing, cholesterol testing, blood gas analysis, pregnancy testing, drug discovery, infectious disease testing, and by end use, point of care testing, home healthcare diagnostics, research laboratories, industry analysis reports, regional outlook, application potential, competitive market share, and forecast. So all these market size, biosensor market size, depending upon the type it is spreading through. Increasing prevalence of diabetes will positively stimulate biosensor industry growth in the forthcoming years. As per World Health Organization WHO, the number of diabetic patients in 2014 were around 422 million across the world. And now it has increased the population in 2019. Rising awareness about the self-management of diabetes, it facilitates the amalgamation of the advanced technology in the glucometers, thereby driving the market growth. For instance, novel glucometers contain embedded microchips now that enable the accurate and faster detection of the blood glucose levels even at home. Hence, these growing preference for such technologies and availabilities of variant diabetic biosensors in the market will boost the global biosensors industry growth. Technology advancements in biosensor technology escalate the adoption rate of the biosensors in the foreseeable future. The new biosensor technology delivers the innovative, user-friendly, and flexible products. This technology is being combined with the Internet of Things, with the smartphones, with the cloud computing, among few other um, technologies. Now the development, it focus on the lab on chip model in biosensors that is gaining the pace for point of care diagnostics that will positively influence the biosensor market growth in the forthcoming years. Growing awareness regarding maintenance of the balance and healthy lifestyle, it is accelerating demand for wearable biosensors capable of monitoring various health parameters such as pulse rate, blood pressure, heartbeats, and other uh, problems. In addition, wearable biosensors, they assist in measuring physiological and kinetic parameters in case of multiple sclerosis, where patients suffer from walking impairment. And increasing adoption of wearable biosensors along with growing chronic ailments will propel the industry growth. However, the cost-intensive nature of the development of biosensors, it may hinder biosensors industry growth. So that all include the how the biosensor is working globally in the market. So to live a creative life, we must lose our fear of being wrong. So if you understand this, then you have to be creative. If you want to be creative, then you must lose the fear of being wrong. This all, as I told you from the start of this lecture, that if you have a plan, if you are working in a plan, then you must face the circumstances of that plan. You know, putting life in perspective. Um, what do you know about that? If you struggle with putting things into perspective, just ask yourself two simple questions. What's the worst thing that could happen as a result of this? And will this matter in 5 years? Your answers should put a stop to such violent thinking. So, what's more, everything will eventually come to pass. So, it's easy to rationalize the magnitude of whatever we are going through. We can always return to that universal truth of our problems being rather insignificant. That is, what's more, everything will eventually come to pass. So, how did you grow from these experiences? Problems, they are the gifts that make us dig out and figure out who we are and what we are made for and what we are responsible to give back to life. So it generally follows that seemingly worst moments of our lives actually become catalyst for growth and more authentic ways of being looking at the problem. So I encourage you to travel back 20 years if you are in 30s, or 10 years if you are in 20s, or 5 years, or even to yesterday, and revisit one of those end of the world problems that you have faced, and feel that sensation that you felt, feel the relief that came about, everything worked out. Cherish the perspective you now have, and knowledge that everything will eventually come to pass. So I'm always excited to hear others that perspective on this, so please do share your perspective as well. Revive your heart, very interesting book by Noman Ali Khan. In this book, what Noman Ali Khan, through his words, he helps basically to put our lives in perspective through the various issues surrounding the modern Muslim person. And topics like as these revive your heart, we as an ummah, they should react to terrorism, and how our hearts should connect back to Allah, are brought to light. Content is very easy to digest in this book, and carries a powerful reminders we so often forget when we are going through plans. And it all relates to that when you are working in your plan, you are putting life in danger, you must have that punch. So it all talked about that in this book also. So it is a necessary book of reminders for us Muslims living in these trying times. Say in the end, I repeat that what's more, everything will eventually come to pass. So I appreciate that you are now working on your projects given by us, and I hope that you will actually and come across to a great plan, that what you work, please work efficiently, please make your imagination strong, and if you are reading something, go into depth of that, go into depth the working of that the author that learned about because what the author has written in his book, he has learned a lot of experiences, and please try to learn those experiences as well. So thank you so much for your listening, and I hope that you have learned a lot regarding innovation and entrepreneurship. As you know that they are two closely related words in the business world, and if you are stepping into the business world, then you have to be a great entrepreneur. You have to get punched in the face when you are facing the reality while working through the plans. So thank you so much. Inshallah, we will after completion of your projects, we will work on that, and we will share the experiences that what we will share our experiences as well more, and we will tell you about your current work projects. Okay, so thanks a lot. Allah Hafiz, and please remember us in your prayers.